shit crack.
Peace, peace, family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I am the owner of Ascendant Astrology, and I am your astrology coach. Today, we're going to be talking about the Scorpio new moon solar eclipse happening on the 25th, which is about 2 weeks from now. Um, but it can be felt a month before and a month after this date, especially for Scorpio's fixed signs and water signs in general. Um, Whatever you are meant to work on for this new moon will undoubtedly be happening within 2 weeks of this eclipse. So that's now and then 2 weeks after as well. It's going to be different for everybody. So watch for big news and things that are happening in your life because that'll be what you're working through for the next 6 months. Now, this could be 5 years. I've seen it different for all people, but me personally, I talked about this if you've been following me for a while, with my child support case that I had with my son back. Oh, I think it was from one eclipse to another too, but I would really have to go back and double check. But it was definitely a 5 year process, which was horrible. So hopefully nobody's going through anything like that. Um, New moons are a time to start new intentions. Unfortunately, with eclipses, things are not always visible, and you can have unexpected changes that happen out of your control. And so typically, again, we could be seeing changes all throughout the next 6 months around whatever this is going to be for you, and it could come up in various different ways. But typically with the Scorpio energies, it's about closing out cycles and letting go of things that no longer serve you. Scorpio is not an easy sign either because it's the ancient ruler of Scorpio is Mars, right? And we all know that Mars is about, you know, destruction, violence, war. And the modern ruler is Pluto, which is to break something down to its smallest particle to rebuild it back up. And we've had Pluto in the sign of Capricorn since 2008, getting ready for its 6 month transit before it goes into Aquarius for a little bit. Um, and we're going to start to see what some of that is at that time as well. I might do some horoscopes for that just to see because I'm intrigued by the whole thing, but it'd be very interesting to see for sure what's going to be coming up for Pluto and Capricorn and how that cycle is going to close out over the next 6 months. Um, Now, Mars rules your passion, desire, sexuality, war, conflict, and aggression. Scorpio is a fixed water sign. It rules transformation, change, intuition, um, rebirth, and finances. Big money, typically like government money, loans, debt, taxes, insurances, um, and investments. This could also be more on a personal level, um, something going on with your significant other, especially if you have joint finances. I would imagine that a lot of these eclipses could have something to do with money because typically Scorpio and Taurus, that access is the money access. Um, This could also be intimacy, right? And people looking for deeper meanings, deeper relationships, something that's more fulfilling. And I think right now, especially while having been in Libra season, we've gotten a really good idea of where we're very superficial at when it comes to our desires and pleasures, right? And Scorpio's going to kind of come in and be like, but don't you want something more than that? You know? And Venus will be in Scorpio, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but just reflecting, um, people are tired of going after the tried and true. People want more out of are going to have more expectations out of their relationships, especially when it comes to intimacy and spiritual connections. Um, this can bring new opportunities through crisis, unfortunately. That's just the energy of Mars and Pluto. And it really depends on where you're at with on your journey, on your spiritual journey. Are you doing the work? Are you holding yourself accountable? Are you challenging yourself to do better? That could change the dynamics of a crisis, or it could be that you've already dealt with a crisis that has already come to light. Um, and now it's just could be intense in the way of which you're having to make sure you never go back to that place again, right? Doing the steps, taking on that new energy, holding yourself accountable, so on and so forth. We're being asked to let something go, release, purge, or cut something out with this Scorpio energy. This new moon is conjunct Venus. Family, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure you hit the notifications bell so that you can be notified every time we go live. Family, we do appreciate you in advance. And if you want your eclipse horoscope reading, be sure to send me an email at info@awayoflife.net to get your reading. So, this new moon solar eclipse is conjunct Venus. Venus will have just went into Scorpio, and so Scorpio is Venus is gonna be in her detriment. She's not happy in Venus. Um, and we're also entering a new phase of Venus energy with the Venus star point. I made some posts about that already, and I've talked about it briefly before. This is beginning of something coming to your awareness that you're going to be moving through as Scorpio season unfolds. Unfortunately, this could be something around the lower expressions of Scorpio that has been hidden within you that you're seeing for the first time. Um, that you will be working to evolve past and become that Phoenix rising by the end of this solar eclipse lesson. So again, within the next 6 months, it's going to be one of those eye-opening moments where you're like, damn, this whole time it really was me. Or damn, this whole time I got to stop eating that damn chicken. It's a joke. That was a bad joke. But it's going to be something that comes to light in such a way where you're like, oh, now I see why I have to really let this go. And that's that Phoenix rising energy where you can then start to, again, work towards making the changes that you need to make to see the bigger, you're going to start to see the bigger picture, right? Um, this could be deep psychological beliefs that are no longer serving you, being flushed out that can no longer move forward with you on your journey. This could actually show up as fear, so you can identify it and then work with it. Again, this could be investigating it and getting curious about that energy enough so that you go get some counseling, talk to somebody, get these things off your chest. Maybe you're doing some writing or you have some kind of spiritual practice or belief that helps you within this process. Um, so that you can see whatever it is that you've brought into this world and manifested. You're going to see your habits and patterns in such a way where you see why your life is the way it is. That's how I'm viewing this. Like I feel like we know, but we're being in the matrix because everybody else is doing it, right? There's a lot more people doing the things that maybe aren't so great as opposed to who are, that it's a lot easier to fall into these patterns and habits and behaviors that are keeping us from a lack or keeping us in a lack mindset. Um, and that could be really hard. It could be a harsh reality too. Scorpio rules our emotions, vulnerability, sexuality, and intimacy, along with a bunch of other stuff. We'll be asking ourselves, where did the fear originate from? And is it really my fear? Or did it come from our parents, how we were raised, the environment we grew up in, or the society that we live in? Which I actually tend to think that it's all of the above, um, which is probably why it's best to get some outside help because if your whole world has been wrapped around the idea that you've been living in, it's going to be really hard for somebody like for you with the same thoughts that you've been having to work through something with those old ideas, right? You need somebody to come in with a different perspective, somebody you can trust, somebody who has some knowledge and you know, is going to uplift you and elevate you out of this cycle that you've been stuck in. So now's a really good time to really analyze what energy you have gained from others and what power dynamics are controlling you that are coming from others. Now, obviously, this could be you, right? Some people like to be in control, other people's are doers and givers. It just, again, it just really depends on how your chart is set up. But once this energy comes forth, you're going to know exactly who you are and where you stand in that anyways. Um, Either way, this is the starting point of looking out at our energy with others that have challenged our sense of empowerment and reclaim what is true for us, what you really want and need in relationships and connections that support you instead of feeling like there's some kind of lock or control or tie, a soul tie with Scorpio, um, dynamic that's keeping you in some kind of exchange with people that feels like an ongoing power struggle. Now, for me, this goes back to when I did my first video. If you listen to it, I talked about why I started this new channel because a lot of this, and it's funny that this is happening because it's Pluto and Capricorn, which is all about business. Now, I've been ranting and raving about this for the longest time, right? It has been a while for me that I've been on this journey about how we have to go around doing these specific things to get likes and shares and things of that nature so that our the algorithm can be monetized somehow to get you to be seen more. I think it's one of those things that are the outside things controlling you of something that you have to do to get you more seen out there as a business. And it's like not really authentic to me. It never really has been and it never really felt that way. And the interesting thing about how this is all playing out as I'm doing the astrology for all of this is that, and I've been saying this as well, is we still have to live in this world to do this. So I feel like on one end, there's like this spiritual group of people who are like, fuck that. I'm not doing what, these people want me to do just to get some likes and stuff. If people like me, they're going to find me. If they don't, then it is what it is. And, both sides in retrospect are true, right? But then there's the other side where it's like, if you like somebody, say it. Don't not do it because you're trying to be a rebel, stand for a cause or what have you, when you still have to survive in a world that's already not just that is against you, but then you have all these other avenues that are already against you that kind of put you out of the running race and the ability to win in your life in some kind of way, right? And um and I think we're going to start to see a lot of that come into fruition, especially after this really awesome, amazing energy that we've had on the upswing to the Libra energy, which is wanting to connect more and really listening and hearing what people have to say to you that might have been a little hard to hear. Like, damn, I actually sat down and took the opportunity to listen to somebody that maybe you was having some confrontation with, and for the first time, you heard them in a very different way. I had a similar experience years ago where I was just really angry as a kid, and I've always noticed how I just was a no nonsense kind of person, and I kicked ass and asked questions later. Um, and one day it just hit me like, I don't have no fucking friends. Nobody likes me. It wasn't even that they didn't like me, they were afraid of me. And I had seen that. I don't know what the heck it was. I can't remember what it was. I think it was my mom who came to me and said something to me. Oh, I remember what it was. She said, don't nobody say the same thing about you for 20 years and that should not be true. At some point, you got to stop and look in the mirror to see maybe these things that people are saying about you might be true. And so I did that because it became really clear to me in that moment at that time, which by the way, it had been being said, that I was just like, damn, you know what? Let me chill the fuck out. Let me step back. Let me look at this from a different perspective. This is very scorpionic energy. This and how this could be playing out for a lot of people where for the first time it's going to be like a light goes off. And it might not be in such a nice way, right? It might have really been hard to hear and or accept. But when you open up your heart to that opportunity to come into you, that's when real change starts, right? And you really begin to see the root of a problem that you can change the vibration of your heart and open it up to something better, right? And I think that's so fucking funny. So, um, this isn't going to be easy. I say crisis, it could be very intense. It doesn't necessarily have to be a crisis. Again, it really just depends on where you are in your life and how this dynamic is going to be playing out for you, but it's not going to be pretty. Nobody's perfect. We all have things that we need to elevate from. I think another aspect to this I talked about in the weekly astrology, which you won't hear for a while because I record them a week in advance, but um another way that this can be showing up for people is like you begin to understand your situation from a perspective that you hadn't before, you know? And it's like once that with the beautiful thing about Pluto energy on its highest vibration is like the truth. It wants to get to the truth of the matter. And once you see the truth, you can never go back to being that old way again because it doesn't exist. It's not real. And so there's no foundation. It's not sturdy for you to go there anymore. You have to rebuild. You have to move forward and do something different. You have to learn and get educated. You might need a mentor or just living your life in a very different way. Otherwise, it's just going to keep collapsing and crumbling, or things aren't going to work out no matter how hard you try to build on that foundation. It's like, I don't know why I just got the vision of like walking through quicksand. It's just not going to work. It's going to keep bringing you down. You can reach a certain level, and you come back down. Reach a certain level and you come back down. Um, yeah, that's how I'm seeing this. I mean, obviously there could be a multitude of other ways that this can be showing up for people, but those were the things that stuck out to me the most. So Venus is learning how to love herself, but she's unraveling what she was told, what she was taught from others. Um, what she was taught from others, that is her sense of self. I feel like I wanted to say something about how that's gonna change and inflict because all our lives we've been taught from outside of us. But how many times have you actually sat down and asked yourself what you wanted and lived through that lens? It's going to take a lot of work for people to detach from something like this. It's not going to be easy, but trust me, you'll know because you'll feel the heaviness and the lackluster or the hole, the emptiness of whatever this is if you keep building on it. Venus is a ruler of the North Node, which is in Taurus, but she's in opposition to herself. So she's seeing a different side of herself, seeing her shadows, seeing her fears, seeing her insecurities, really getting into anything around her self value and worth that she picked up from others that were more powerful than her and who she was. So that's again going back to I always see this, especially I think it's because Pluto's in Capricorn as the government. You know, there all these programs and routes and things that we do in this life right now are very limiting. The societal norms that we're being taught from the culture that is, by the way, not our culture, that we really have to start to undo. Um, and even our parents are doing the same thing. They're passing it down by not holding themselves accountable and doing the same process in which we are all going through at this time. Maybe perhaps, you got a lot of sheep in this world, right? We all kind of go along to get along because we don't um that it's hard to do all of this without, especially if you don't have a group of people or some kind of support when you have loans that you can't get. The government has way too much control, right? And I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it can really feel that way. It can really bring you down in such a way where you feel like, well, what the fuck am I fighting for? How do I fight a government without getting locked up, blackballed, or you know what I mean? How do I not work for somebody else when I got bills to pay, mouths to feed, right? It's, you know what I mean? That that there are insurmountable ways that are there to kind of cut us off, block us from this authentic self that we're trying to get to, this true self that we're trying to get to, so that we can live out our desires and have the things that we want in life, right? And that's going to be why it's so hard. That is why it has always been so hard, but it is absolutely not um impossible, right? Um Yes. There's just, they have a lot of influence on us before we even know who we are or what our worth is. And so we're just really kind of creating that without giving a fuck about what anybody else has to say, but not for the sake of saying I don't care, but for the sake of finding out who you are. Um, we could be realizing old definitions of love that no longer make you happy, that don't work for you anymore, that are not fulfilling, that are not your truth. This is where we are doing some deep deprogramming and deconditioning around was um what we thought love was through the North Node and Taurus. So when we have that North Node eclipse, I feel like it's going to be a lot harsher. Unfortunately, because Taurus has been in Uranus and Uranus isn't happy there, and it's been causing a lot of turbulence, but in a way to shake us up enough to get out of it, to deprogram ourselves, to change us, or to get us so angry to light a fire under us that's going to be like, okay, I'm tired. I don't want this anymore. And to the point where you make it a habit, you make it your North Node, you make that your mission and your purpose to say no to the things that absolutely don't bring you value, who don't support you, who don't love on you. You know what I mean? If you give something, they should give it back. Going back to using the example of social media and how you have to get likes, shares, and subscribes. You know what I mean? If you like somebody, like the video. If you support them, share their video. Um, and that's a simple answer because I feel like that's the thing that can be seen the easiest, but you can put this same scenario in any part of your life, especially obviously relationships. And undoubtedly, this is going to have a lot to do with money and the way we value money. Our values on what we spend our money towards could change. I don't care what anybody says. Taurus, from an ancient ruler perspective, is legacy, money, and all that. But with Pluto and Capricorn, that is the legacy and the passing down of knowledge and things from generation to generation. Taurus is that as well, in a sense. And we need to start supporting Black businesses, small businesses, businesses that aren't where we give these people way too much power. I think in the industry and in the entertainment world, a lot of Black people are exploited through their talent and they can only get so far. Just like us, they might have money and be living the good life with money, but if you get a chance to have a conversation with those people, like for an example, I think it was Jay-Z and P. Diddy. I seen two separate occasions where one wanted to buy a basketball team and one wanted to buy into the NFL. That never happened. You see, they can only get but so far. Everybody's meant to elevate. Once you get to a specific uh level in your life, and then there's a change, and that change is because it's time for you to grow up more. They can't either, and again, I'm only using this as an example for people to think, because I feel like these are things that can easily be seen. It's like we don't need to be doing business with these people because they're not going to let us get any further. And so they should be putting money into the Black communities and things like that. And I bet if they did that, they'd probably be blacklisted, blackballed, etc. Right? So I don't want to put the pressure on them because I don't think that's not really the message I'm trying to convey. But in a sense, not that that's what they need to do, but collectively, that's what we should be doing anyways. I think that's a better way to say that, right? And that's why we keep failing, is because we are putting our resources, energy into places that are only going to allow you to go so far. And the reason that they have that power is because we're continuously buying into what they do. Stop doing that. You have to stop doing that. Again, if this doesn't apply to you, use it in this is going to be this same theory and scenario is going to be coming up in some other area of your life. If you want to do love, somebody who is not treating you right, they don't give you what you want, they don't give you the time that you need, the intimacy, the deep soul connection that your soul is starving for right now, and you still loving on this person, giving them your energy, um, giving them repeated time and time and time again. I'm sorry, I'll forgive them, I'll take them back. Um, That's not gonna do it anymore. It's just not gonna work. That emptiness needs to be felt, and it's gonna feel so intense to the point where you're like, if I don't, I'm going to fucking lose it or explode, or something is going to happen to the point where no matter if it's good or bad, that's just what eclipse season does. It blows things up in such a way where you never can go back. No matter, it's not up to you anymore. Now spirit's taking control, right? Um, So the North Node in Taurus is bringing us into our higher level of awareness of what love is based on in our own terms for us and what we want. So this solar eclipse is bringing you into a new truth around Venus energies of love, connection, acceptance, showing up with vulnerability, authenticity, showing up with strength, and showing up in your power, especially with Venus and Scorpio. Now, listen, I could say, and I will talk about Venus higher expression and lower expression when Venus goes into Scorpio. I'll do a separate video on that. But for the sake of this video, to keep it short and sweet, I can say all the things, the lower vibrations that this can be showing up because Venus is in its shadow self. But even Venus in its shadow self, in my personal opinion, some people might disagree with me, but I even said this in the weekly reading as well, and I'm standing on this. The higher vibration of Venus and Scorpio is the Phoenix rising, is somebody who's like not afraid to say no. She's kicking ass first and taking asking questions later. You know, she's absolutely relentless when it comes to not letting somebody take her weakness um for granted. You know what I mean? And I see people fighting back here, standing up to the victimizer, um, blowing shit up. Like, I'm just sorry. This is like a Harley Quinn. I think I might do a video about that. gonna do I'm gonna do a Harley Quinn video and put Venus and Scorpio. You remember when what fucking Joker movie was that? I don't even remember. Um when she blew up that fucking thing because the Joker left her. Oh, that's gonna be brilliant. I gotta write that down because I can forget. Oh yeah, that's going on. That's gonna become a meme. Anyway, um, but in that way, this is somebody who's like, I'm done. I'm not doing this shit anymore. Actually, it was a Harley Quinn movie now that I'm thinking about it. Or was it what is she in with her little group of fucking psychotic friends? Oh my God, okay. Um, so Venus also rules creativity, our ability to receive and be seen in relationships, especially with females, friendships, sisters, and money. So we can be letting go of any of these themes that make room for our new values and beliefs. Unfortunately, we can really struggle with letting these things go because there's an energetic tie to it. And that goes back to what I was saying. Um, um, no, I said that in the weekly. So that energetic tie with that Scorpio energy, it could feel like a soul tie. It's like something that you were doing that's in your lower expression of Scorpio, let's say. And you're doing it because it's your safety net. It was your safety net. It served its purpose in order to get you out of something that you seen as toxic, wasn't working for you, but you had to be this like badass or build up this wall of fuck off. This is all the people. I think I had a whole fucking meltdown about this. Um, this single dumb fucking dumb shit that we're so caught up in. Um, being alone. I can do bad all by myself. Um, I don't need a man. It's cheaper to keep her. I mean, I could go all down the line of the fucking imbalanced ideologies and social norms that we pass around here as being strong, and that's keeping us from being hurt or re-abused or whatever. And like I said, we don't really have to like it. Nobody really has to like it, as long as you get to a point where you see that it's off balance. So I'm not saying that you're going to completely get rid of it, but then there's this more mature way that you go about it, where you, again, enough to open up your heart for something new to come in. That means you have to be vulnerable. That means you have to be open to the idea that people just fucking suck. And you can't control that, but you can control your actions, right? And we don't really operate off of that ideology as much. Like I said, it's off balance. We are too much in one of the other, and we have to meet somewhere in the middle. Again, that might mean that you have to get educated on something and actually listen to somebody who knows something more than you. And admitting that you're wrong and that you don't have all the answers, and perhaps maybe you've been going about this in the wrong way. I feel myself getting ready to go on a tangent, so I'm going to back up off this topic because it's very near and dear to my heart. So I'm just going to like, ba-doo. But I hope that what you're hearing is that there's going to be an energetic tie to that type of behavior, because it served its purpose of keeping you safe from something that maybe you didn't want to go back to, and rightfully so, right? And so at the end of the day, now it's time to find something new. What Spirit is saying is faith, right? This is about having faith in the fact that you needed to do that in order to get to this phase of your life. And now this new phase wants to come in. That means you're going to have to start thinking differently, doing differently, believing differently, etc. Um, yeah. Um, so then Jupiter is in conjunct this eclipse. This is new paths, new starts, to your new journey, but there's this uncomfortable feeling with others, that opposition, because Jupiter is in Aries. Um, what are they saying? What are they thinking? What are they perceiving? So really like caring about what people say to you, you're gonna have to let that shit go. Um, so you want to look at Mars. And Mars is supported by Mercury and Libra and Saturn, that air trine. I did these air trine horoscopes. I think they're on my old IG page, which you can get to from my IG page. And there's a link in my bio. Um, but I broke down how this could all be playing out for people. So I advise everybody, if they get a chance, to go back and look at those, because that's the answer to how you get through whatever this is. But on a very basic level, to be quite frank with you, I think we all need counseling. Some kind of mentor or somebody to look up to, speak to, who's going to give you the truth in a way that is not, um, demeaning, or with some kind of sensitivity and understanding to the truth underneath why we're in this mess in the first damn place. Mars and Saturn in a conversation about the long-term plan. Saturn is our long-term plan, and asking what needs to be changed for the long-term plan, because Saturn in Aquarius is the future and how we get there. So, what do we need to prioritize, reconsider, and reinvent for this plan to work? And then Mars is the action to doing that. And Pluto is going to make some executive decisions and send them to Mercury, who wants to work with other people, because that's, Gemini energy is about connecting with others, Um, this could be some tough conversations about this being the end of the line for people, places, and things. How you spend your money, what you spend your money on, and getting maybe it's about getting a new job. Um, Maybe more businesses are going to be going out of business, and people are losing their jobs, so you have to get a new job. This could be some feeling of lostness and not like lack of direction and not really knowing where to go. So that means you need education, right? And and build your way up step by step until you find that clarity, that till you start to feel safe again, right? Um, but whatever this is, even though it's going to be hard, it's going to provide freedom of your choice. And, that's what this is really all about. And then that's when Pluto moves into Aquarius, which is sovereignty. That's how I'm seeing this. And that's going to be a whole nother long ass lessons that we have to learn. So we still got some ways to go, but I do feel like Pluto and Aquarius really sets the stage for the Aquarian age of really starting to see the people take back their power. The people take control over and kind of putting, America on their fucking knees. But that could be just my wishful thinking. Um, and I'm okay with saying that out loud. I am. Today I am because that's what my whole wish is, that we can stand up enough to these people to say, take our power back and say, no, we're not going to do it. That might mean that you have to sacrifice some living conditions, which is Taurus in the North Node anyway. Taurus is a simple life. This is somebody who lives out of their car. And I'm not saying it's going to be that bad, but it could, especially with the threat of a recession. Um, it could just be some really unfortunate things that come up in our life that for the people who are really done, they'll be that person to live in their car until they get to the place that they want to be. That's just what it's going to be. And then, like I said, there's the sheeple who absolutely cannot see past living in a world without having the security that America provides, or safety net that they provide, which is not real. It's fake. And that's going to be the separation. It's going to be the sheeple against the real people. Who are you? Um, and we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. It'll be very, 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 very interesting. I, for one, look forward to seeing how this all plays out. But yeah, man, as usual, family, I love and appreciate you. I hope you found this information helpful. Peace.